Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to webinar, as Emma said. Thanks for the intro, Emma. Really, just to kind of set the scene, the digital transformation, the webinar we're doing today is the aim is to kind of be a bit thought-provoking, kind of give you some ideas about what it might be. People are talking about it. It's kind of an industry buzzword at the moment. People seem to mention it a lot in presentations. A lot of vendors and solution providers talking about it. So really, our aim is to try and put a bit of context around that. Give you guys as much information as possible, and then we've got some information at the end which I'm sure you'll like about how there's some funding available to help your business on its road to digital transformation. So as Emma said, my name is Tim Hall, Technical Development Manager at BlueLogic. I look after sort of products and services. I'm from a technical background, and also looking at where we're going and what's best for our customers and what's right to be talking to you about now and in the future. So, what is digital transformation? As I said before, there's a lot of people are talking about it in the industry, both in business and in IT. And really, what we're seeing now is a pivotal time for business because now more than ever, technology is driving business change. As you'll have seen in your own personal lives, technology is impacting in many areas of our personal lives, about how we communicate with people, how we do go about our daily lives, and that's now starting to filter more and more down into business. And really, to kind of summarize, I was trying to look. I did a bit of research on the internet. It's like, kind of we could put a single definition around digital transformation, and the answer is no, actually, because it means different things to different people. But hopefully, what we can try and do is put some examples and some context around that over the coming slides. But what we can say is where it's being driven from. The world is becoming more digitized. Technology developments are reaching further and further. And one of the key things is actually we're hearing is that millennials are going to make up at least 50% of the workforce by 2050, which means those people who are kind of born recently, they're born maybe the Generation Z people born after 1995. They've grown up with technology in their hands. People, you look at children now, they can operate an iPad very easily because it's all intuitive and uses their finger. And these people are going to be the people who are going to be impacting business moving forward. So they are really driving business change. And you can see there from the slide, we've got a little bit of, some things that we've grown up with at different generations. Personally speaking, I'm over 40, so my experience with technology has grown up. I work in a technological background, obviously from BlueLogic's point of view, but the pace of change, the things that we're talking about now more than ever is so exciting. For many years we've been talking simply about IT in businesses, and we talked about the cloud and things like that, and it's really starting to kind of change and morph, and with new technologies available. So yeah, it's as a 40-year-old, it's quite difficult to cope with. We'll see if we can cope with it. So, again, moving on, what is it? So I think I wanted to give you some examples and some context of where digital transformation has taken certain things in certain businesses. So, as you can see here on the left, we've got our old friend, a Nokia 3310. When that first came out, it was revolutionary. It had a massive battery life. You could drop it. It lasted forever. You charged it probably once every few days. But it had two main functions. It was a phone and it did text messages. And of course, yes, you could play Snake, but it wasn't one of its primary functions. And we were happy with it. It did what we needed to. It was accessible, it was cheap. People could have a mobile phone much more easily than before. And then it's all changed. We've got a picture there of the iPhone, a device that kind of, some would say, sort of set in stone the template for that computer that we now have in our pocket, that thing that we now rely on and people take everywhere for them, and people expect that to be what's in their pocket. So we can see how just that one area of our lives has now changed. It goes from being a device that was purely for two functions to a device that is bespoke to you because it's got your apps on it. Apps weren't around when the Nokia came out, but those apps are your apps. Those apps are your apps that are tailored to you. They're around what's interesting to you. They're apps around that's very specific technologies that you are want to be involved in. So today we expect that computer to be in the pocket. Um, some other examples from a business point of view. So some of you may remember, like I do, when I went shopping as a kid for records, as a record shop called Our Price. No longer exists. They didn't have an online presence. They didn't move forward with their business. HMV suffered a few years ago with very much, they were very much stuck in the high street sales. People like Amazon and iTunes came along and really affected their business. They've now morphed and changed and have had to adapt quite quickly to the change in landscape. Also Blockbuster, we all remember renting videos from Blockbuster and taking them home for a few days and forgetting to return them. Now not so much. We can all stream by the service on the side. So again, a very strong enterprise level example of where digital transformation has moved things forward, has changed the landscape, and has really taken us forward. So that's some quite high level examples there from real enterprises. But obviously, what does that happen down in kind of the smaller business, small to medium business, small to medium enterprise? How has digital transformation or things that are happening started to affect those size of businesses? So take, for example, on the left there, we've got our backups, we've got our data living on site in servers that we can see, and very much, people used to be expected to take the tapes home every evening, to put give it to the secretary to take home in her car, and we change those every day. Now, back up to the cloud as a norm. We're all, again, going back to the iPhone reference or the smartphone reference. People back up their data to the cloud. Their data lives in the cloud. And again, this is kind of become the norm for business. So it is transformed. Again, another example: business email. When we're talking to customers now about email and what service they should use, we do still talk about having it on a server on site, but much more the conversation starts with what cloud service should I use? Should it be Google Mail? Should it be Office 365 or some other platform? Again, because people have moved forward and technology has moved forward, and the advantages of being in the cloud outweigh those potentially for those being on premise. And all of that, really, I think we've seen, particularly in terms of broadband services. Back in the days of the Nokia, we were all happy with modems and 56k dial-up. Now it's gone through broadband. We were happy with broadband. Business is no longer the case. Their consumption needs in terms of internet bandwidth are up and up. And now the default, really, if you can get it, is fibre or fibre to the cabinet. So the BT Infinity type services that mean it's 40 or 50 meg a minimum. All of that to support how that business has changed and how they're using the cloud more and how they're using the internet more for business day to day. Some other examples, just to kind of add some more context to it for you. There used to be a kind of a one-to-one relationship. We used to have desktops rather than laptops. That was the norm. Now people are expecting to work in different places and at different times. They want to take their data with them. So the default now is more around getting a laptop for the employee rather than a desktop. And also very straightforward examples like payslips. A lot of payslips now become delivered electronically rather than giving somebody a piece of paper at the end of the month. And also the submissions as you go through sort of things like VAT returns. Again, all electronics. Again, digital transformation has had an impact. And one of the things that we're seeing, particularly around the sort of financial side, is that just a straightforward accounts package with Excel and so forth used to be the norm, and that's now transforming into I want dashboards, I want live reporting information to come back to me on an hour by hour basis on any mobile or any device, be that mobile, tablet or PC, to give me the information about my business. So again, using the tools we had and transforming them into the new world. So a couple of things about what does it mean, and what are the key areas that we're seeing that it means for business. So again, we're sort of talking high level, and we'll kind of bring that down to some context examples in a second. But really, we're seeing changes in communication, so different ways to collaborate with customers and colleagues, different ways of exchanging information. So how do we send data to and from customers or from between ourselves internally? Where do we store that information? Do we send it? Do we just send links to that information rather than the actual attachment itself? Where do we store information? So have I got enough storage on site? Do I need to use other services in the cloud or in different places? And also, obviously, very key to that is where's the information stored and held. So I've got a mobile phone, I've got a smart device, that information is on that device, how do I secure it? So all these things have an impact in moving the business forward. Working patterns, the Generation Z and people operating in different ways, they're much more akin to working flexibly. So we're seeing a lot of people asking, well, actually, I need to deliver my services to my end users at all times of the day, not just the traditional 9 to 5. People want to work earlier and start and work later to make sure that they've got they get the most out of those employers, because that's how they expect to work. And finally, one of the other areas we're seeing that it's having impact is the processes. So whereas traditionally things like a firewall will protect everybody because everyone came to work at the same place, what other policies or systems do I need to put in place now to make sure that the data that I'm storing in different places is covered no matter where those users are and at what time they're working? Also around, how do we work within the business? How do we drive productivity? How do we work not within the department but in teams of people across departments? One of those things which we can we have to look at, and which I'll touch on again in a second. But the key thing that we're seeing though is that all of these things, all the way we're changing, the way that we're moving things forward in terms of technology, people are sort of saying to us, well, surely my job in IT is under threat. And we're saying, no, it's not under threat. It's actually changing because it becomes more of a straightforward nuts and bolts IT job to more into a business productivity, using the tools. What other tools can I plug into my tools that I'm using right now? And it's changing IT as a landscape and how we deliver it and how we talk about it. So just to touch on a couple of things that we've come across about how we've worked. Not that long ago, people worked at a desk in a place that they came to every single day, and they were essentially tied to that desk. And now more and more we're being asked to, what can we do to allow our employees to collaborate differently at different times of the day from any location. Yes, they may go to the office in the same place, but I want them to roam around the office, be a bit more kind of hot desking. What devices do I need? How do I go about my telephony in that sense? So really it's a change, and we're seeing this a lot more and more with the younger generation and how they want to talk and work together. And really that kind of drives we're seeing having conversations around ineffective collaboration because of that sort of stuck in the old traditional ways. So a lack of agility is driving worse decisions because they haven't got the data available to those employers at the right time to collaborate effectively, which is kind of stagnating, if you will, maybe some of the innovation in that business because they're still stuck in that kind of siloed kind of working environment. And one of the things that are key elements around digital transformation is that kind of moving people forward as how they work together and how they so can literally drive productivity within those people and within those teams. But as I said, all of these things are all driven by technology and underpinned by technology, but are actually happening at a business level because it's changing the way people are working and changing the way that teams interact and changing the way that each group uses different tools to collaborate. So, is it by dashboard? Is it by phone? Is it by messaging? Is it by shared content or by video? Whichever way it is, it's changing the way that people think about business. One of the things we thought we'd cover in the presentation is some terms, and again, kind of going back to the beginning there, we've all heard the term digital transformation and what it means. Some people have heard different things, so we thought we'd kind of cover some terms here to kind of put some a dictionary definition, if you will, from our point of view around those elements. So one of them is analytics. We're seeing that a lot in terms of customer asking and also from people coming up with new solutions for things. And this is really looking at using another term called big data, and these are kind of intertwined. So what we're talking about here really is it's the data that you've got in your business that might be spread over various different pieces of data. So a directory with a lot of spreadsheets in it. It might have a database with accounts information. It might be a CRM database. It might be information around production schedules and values. And the analytics side of that is really looking at that data and pulling it together and delivering it into a useful dashboard. Maybe that's delivering KPIs, maybe that's delivering business information to drive decision. And people starting to say, actually, I need this updated much more regularly than a traditional spreadsheet. So it's using tools to kind of move that forward to drive basically business decision underpinned by technology. The other one there, just to pick out, is integration. Again, very much similar to what I've been talking about. It's kind of pulling together and integrating various bits of my infrastructure that maybe traditionally weren't integrated and using them to leverage, again, information. And that's kind of the key thrust about digital transformation. It's about using the information I have or gaining information by collaborating effectively to move the business forward. Obviously, the key one to a lot of this, which we talked about quite a lot, is the cloud and moving to the cloud. A lot of the services that people are needing to use are based in the cloud. So, yeah, that's absolutely a part of digital transformation. And then one of the things which isn't on that list there is Internet of Things. Now, this is I think this really started as a kind of a technology piece, but Internet of Things is this sort of thing we're seeing a lot driving into the consumer market, where I might have a internet connected fridge, or I've got a kettle that is electronic. And really, this is kind of taking our interaction with the technology world to the next level. So let's say you've got a manufacturing suite where you've got machines that traditionally we didn't collect data from. People are now using the Internet of Things to connect those devices to the internet and therefore gather data from them, which then feeds into your big data, which means we can do analytics on those things. So it's really kind of integrating all the parts of the business, and that's where there's a lot of talk and a lot of effort going around digital transformation. So myths. Obviously, we take a step back and go, right, well, actually, how big a trend is this? What is really happening? And the question is it a passing phase? I would, in our opinion, no, it's not. There's a lot of things happening, as you can see it again in the personal world. Take, for example, Uber. 4 years ago, Uber was very much a kind of a minority. It was kind of a niche thing. But now people actually, well, I'll get an Uber because that's the easiest way to get a taxi, because it's there, it's integrated into my apps, and that's how things have moved forward. So no, it's not a passing phase. I watched a video today about artificial machine learning and about how it uses information. This is purely within the information you gave it within PowerPoint to then give you back templates for your PowerPoint presentation based on the information that the text that you'd already entered. So again, using learning and the analytics to give that information. So yeah, it's definitely not a myth. It's all about technology. Again, I think as you've probably kind of maybe hopefully gathered from what I've been saying, is technology underpins the transformation and the things that are moving out there, but it has to be right for the business. You have to sort of look inwardly at how teams are collaborating together, and then using technology to underpin that change. And again, how people collaborate, how people work together, and how we can drive productivity. So yes, technology is part of that, but it underpins it. And as you can see from that, no, it's not just about the IT department. It starts from the top. It's a kind of inward looking, how can I move the business forward? What are my plans for 2017? How can we do things differently? Just because this is how we've always done it, should we do it the same again next year? And finally, we've had a couple of comments from customers going, well, actually, my business is doing fine now. I've got a great business and I can see what my competitors are doing, and they're kind of doing the same. But is that enough? Yes, they might be doing the same, but what about moving forward? Look at the things differently. Yes, we can match the competition, but how can we beat them? How can we use technology to move us forward and really kind of accelerate the growth? So what we thought we'd do is just put a quick roadmap together to actually, Tim, you've given me a lot of information there about different things. I'm kind of, my head's a bit swimming. How would I kind of put that into some context for my business? And I think I touched on some of this just now. It's about looking at next year, how we're going to do things differently. Using the young people in the business, potentially those guys who've got different ideas and grown up with technology. What can we do differently? How can we do things in a different way to how we've always done them, if necessary? It may be that you stick with how you're doing it, but it's worth that kind of sense check. And then on the back of that, look at the business process. Is it cumbersome? Are we using technology in the right way? Are we getting the most out of the technology we already have to give me the insights that we already have, so we can drive the strategy for next year? And then that comes from a board level decision, which we can then push back down through the business to get this pushed through. Maybe a slight change to technology or process can lead to a great deal of change in productivity. Yes, there will always be system changes required. As I said before, whilst it's not led by the IT department, they're certainly involved in this to make sure that they can support the change and have got the right technology available to them to make the changes happen. And those guys who are kind of the millennials, they're going to be up and running with us very quickly, because they're the guys who are driving the change. So, but obviously the rest of the people in the business need training, and it's about reviewing and monitoring after that. And was that change necessary? And we're doing the same internally at BlueLogic. We're looking now. We're moving forward and morphing into a new version of SharePoint, for example. But we're not just kind of copying like for like because it's a new version. We're looking at how we collaborate on data. How do we address our KPIs? And then once we've been using that for a month, we'll review it and monitor it and go, right, actually, for this kind of working, we've got to adjust it. But it's about business process and business change to make sure that the KPIs we deliver back into the business are effective. So kind of another bit of context for you, just to kind of really kind of put some meat on the bones. This is a brand new case study that's just gone live on our website in the last sort of 24 hours, 48 hours. This is for Fairway International. They're a golf holiday and golf trip management company based in Yorkshire, and they sort of support a European tour and various other golfing people. They had some on-premise hardware issues. They're a growing business. They've got a lot of customers, but the people that sort of interact with the systems are based all around the world. And unfortunately, they had some unexpected downtime. They were very, very much traditional. They had a couple of servers in a room in their offices, and they came to us and said, "Look, we can't go on with this, but we don't want to just go forward for a straightforward solution. What can we do differently?" So for these guys, we've moved them. We've moved them into Office 365, and then we're using Microsoft Azure for their bespoke platforms that they had. And what that means is they have now got a very small server on site, and that's purely there for authentication and making sure that the users can log on very quickly in the morning. It doesn't need to be there, but we've put it there for a kind of belt and braces approach. And then the rest of their data and the rest of their business is now lives in the cloud. So it doesn't matter where they are. So they've covered their kind of disaster recovery needs, if you will, because it's all backed up in Azure and Office 365. So if necessary, they can't get to the office is flooded, no problem. You can work from home, you can work from Starbucks, you can work from wherever. It's very, it's an agile solution. But again, as I said before, these guys have got people around the world and covering the golf tours, making sure their clients are happy. So they need to log on from anywhere using whatever device they've got with them. So we've got them secure access from anywhere using the Azure platform. And really one of the key things around digital transformation that I kind of wanted to highlight, and this is where it's changed for Fairway, they haven't had a massive capital expenditure and gone out and bought brand new servers that they've had to size and project for the next, say, 5 years and size them accordingly. With the platforms that we've put them on, they pay now for what they consume now. If in a year's time they consume more, they pay more. And that's one of the key sort of drivers around digital transformation. The businesses are moving from a CapEx to an OpEx type model, which means it's very much like electricity or gas. You pay for what you use. You don't size and have unutilized resource. It's literally scalable as the business scales forward. And that the Fairway really like that model, and that's why they went with that. So they're very happy with that. And I see the full case study is on our website right now, so you can check that on later on. So just to kind of bring this to a close, we as BlueLogic work with a large number of vendors, and some of those you can see here. And at some element, all of these people are have an impact into digital transformation. Digital transformation can be very small. It can be maybe a process change and use the current technology in a different way, but it has a massive enhancement on productivity. It might be like Fairway, where they move completely to the cloud and it transforms how they run their business, and gives them very much a scalable, on-demand model. But no matter who we speak to and what system it is, everything can be moved forward. Things can be looked at in a different way, and things can be analysed and kind of not repeat what we've always done. So where do we go from here? Well, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, there is actually some funding available. One of the reasons we're talking a lot about digital transformation and what it means to businesses is that we're fortunate enough to be involved in an EU and government funding scheme that we have access to or can make applications to, which is for the Leeds City region, which covers a number of different areas. What that basically means is that a business which is commercially focused and has fewer than 250 employees and less than a £50 million turnover can get access to vouchers from £1,000 to £10,000, with the scheme offering up to 40% of the total value of the investment you're making in your business's digital transformation. So really, it's a fantastic opportunity for business to take advantage of whatever sort of business project that's just got a technology basis to it, that people might be planning or thinking about for 2017, and we can make an application on your behalf for the project that you're thinking about doing, and hopefully gain some funding of up to 40% to help you achieve that project or achieve that transformation. And so what we'll do is a full-on presentation today. Tomorrow we'll be in touch with from our guys here to kind of set up an individual consultation so that we can talk about what schemes you might be thinking about doing, whether that voucher, that funding is available to you, and really look at how we can, as BeLogic, using our expertise and the things that we're talking about with the vendors that we use, how we can help you move you forward and kind of begin on your road of digital transformation to really move that business forward. As I say, there's obviously a few more sort of whys and wherefores and conditions around the voucher, but so far those people we've talked to have had it's a very, very big uptake and a lot of people interested. So it's good for you to get involved. So with that, hopefully that's kind of given you a kind of a sense of where we're seeing digital transformation happening. It's from us. It's not as as technology people. Yes, we like to get the technology involved in it, but very much we're starting the conversation around business change and digital transformation. From a business level, it's what is the business doing? How do you want to move forward? What information do you need, or what information would you like access to change the way that the business operates, so that we can help you use technology to move things forward. And it's a fantastic opportunity. It's a pivotal time in our lives, especially in terms of business. So we'll be in touch to see where we can help you, and hopefully we can make 2017 that year of change and growth for us all. So again, thank you for listening.